Lisa Bennett walked through the long hallway of the Galactic Council building for the last time. Her boots made soft sounds on the metal floor as she carried a small briefcase in her hand. She had been the human ambassador for 8 years, but today everything would change. The main council room was full of alien creatures from across the galaxy. There were the tall blue Vorthak with their 4 arms, the crystal-like Zelthani who sparkled under the lights, and many others. They all sat in their special chairs. Looking at their data screens and talking in their strange languages, Lisa stepped up to the speaking platform in the center of the room. The room became quiet as she opened her briefcase and took out a single sheet of paper. She looked around at all the alien faces watching her. "I have an announcement from the Terran Federation," she said in a clear voice. "We are leaving the Galactic Council. We are ending all our trade deals and partnerships. We are going back to our own space." Some of the aliens looked up from their screens. Ambassador Zethkar of the Vorthak Empire made a sound like a laugh. "Humans always give up too easily," he said to the alien sitting next to him. "They do not have the patience for real galactic work." The Zelthani Trade Minister, Kulvash, did not even look up from his screen. "Let them go," he said. "We have better partners now?" Lisa felt her face get hot, but she kept her voice steady. "We thank you for the years we spent together. We learned many things. We hope you learned something too." She put the paper back in her briefcase and walked out of the room. Behind her, the aliens went back to their screens and conversations. They acted like nothing important had happened. Far away in space, Jake Morrison was flying the last human transport ship away from New Geneva Station. The huge station had been home to thousands of humans for over 20 years. Now it was empty except for the alien workers who would take it over. Jake looked at the station getting smaller on his screen. "Hard to believe we built all that," he said to his co-pilot, Amy Rodriguez. Amy was the chief scientist for the human colony. She had boxes of research data stacked around her feet. 23 years of work, she said quietly. And they called it basic science. Behind them in the ship, 200 humans sat in their seats. These were the last people leaving the outer colonies. They had spent their lives building farms, cities, and research centers on distant worlds. Now they were going home to Earth. "Why did we really leave?" asked a young woman named Karen Walsh. She had been born on one of the colony worlds and had never seen Earth. An older man named Pete Sullivan answered her. "Because they never listened to us," he said. "Every time we found something new or built something better, they said we were just lucky. They said we did not understand real science." Amy nodded sadly. "I discovered how to make quantum communicators. Work faster and cheaper. The Council Science Committee said it was just human guessing. They would not even look at my research." Jake remembered the last trade meeting he had attended. The aliens had changed all the shipping routes without asking the humans. The new routes were slower and more expensive, but the aliens said their computer programs were better than human planning. "Their computers cannot think like we do," Jake had told them. "Sometimes the best route is not the one that looks perfect." On paper, the alien trade officials had laughed at him. "Humans think with feelings, not logic," they had said. "Our systems are pure science." Now, those same systems were starting to have problems, but the aliens would not admit it. They would rather struggle with bad routes than use human ideas. Dr. Amy Rodriguez looked at her research one more time. She had been working on something called dimensional folding. It was a way to make space smaller so ships could travel faster. The alien scientists had said it was impossible, so she had been doing the research in secret. "Did you finish it?" Pete asked her. "Almost," Amy said. "I think I know how to make it work. But we will need to test it somewhere safe." The ship jumped into hyperspace and New Geneva Station disappeared. On the station, the alien workers were already removing the human signs and replacing them with their own languages. Back on Earth, Admiral Susan Clark was in a meeting with the human government. "All our people are coming home," she reported. "The last ships will arrive next month." "What about our technology?" asked the Secretary of Defense. "Did we leave anything behind?" "Nothing important," Susan said. We took all our research and destroyed what we could not carry. The aliens will not be able to copy our work. This had been the plan all along. The humans had known for years that the aliens did not respect them, so they had been preparing to leave. They had quietly moved their most important research back to Earth. They had copied all their data and destroyed the rest. The aliens thought the humans were giving up. They did not know that the humans were actually just getting started. Captain Rick Thompson was already working on the next phase of the plan. He was in charge of a secret project to build new ships using Amy's dimensional folding technology. The ships would be invisible to alien sensors and faster than anything in the galaxy. How long do you think it will take them to realize their mistake? Rick asked Admiral Clark. Not long, she said. Maybe 6 months. Their systems are already starting to break down without our help. And then we will see how much they really need us. The aliens in the council building went back to their normal business. They made new trade deals and started new projects. They were happy that the difficult humans were gone, but in the computer systems that ran the galaxy, small problems were already starting to appear. The shipping routes were getting confused. The communication networks were running slower. The early warning systems that watched for dangerous enemies were missing important signals. The aliens did not notice these problems yet. They were too busy celebrating their freedom from human interference. On Earth, the returning humans were already working on something new, something that would change everything. They had learned that being quiet and careful was sometimes better than being loud and proud. The galaxy would learn this lesson too, but it would take time. And by then, it might be too late to fix their mistake. 6 months had passed since the humans left, and engineer Vexthel was having the worst day of his career. He stood in front of the massive mining equipment on Asterion Prime, watching sparks fly from the quantum extractors. The machines that had worked perfectly for 15 years were now breaking down every few days. "Get me the repair manual," he shouted to his assistant. "Which one, sir?" the young Krillian asked nervously. "The one the humans wrote, the detailed one with all the troubleshooting steps." His assistant's face went pale. "Sir, we deleted all the human files 6 months ago. The council said they were taking up too much computer space." Vexthel felt his stomach drop. The human manuals had been 3 times longer than the standard alien ones. They had included solutions for problems that the aliens had never even thought about. Now those solutions were gone. "Contact the human colonies," he ordered. "We need their help." "Sir," his assistant said quietly, "there are no human colonies anymore. They all went dark after the humans left." The mining operation that had produced rare metals for half the galaxy was now working at only 30% capacity. Every day brought new equipment failures that nobody knew how to fix. On the other side of the galaxy, Administrator Ylandra was staring at cargo reports that made no sense. The trade hub at Nexus 7 had always been perfectly organized. Ships came and went like clockwork, carrying goods across dozens of star systems. Now everything was a mess. "The Vivorthic grain shipment is 3 days late," her assistant reported. "The Zelthani crystal convoy is stuck in the Kepler system, and nobody knows where the medicine shipment for the Outer Rim went." Ylandra looked at the computer screen, showing the trade routes. The lines that connected different star systems looked like a spider web that had been hit by a storm. Ships were flying in circles, arriving at the wrong planets, or just sitting in space waiting for orders that never came. "What happened to our logistics program?" she asked. "It is working perfectly," the computer technician said. "All calculations are correct according to the mathematical models." "Then why are the ships lost?" The technician did not have an answer. The alien computer programs were perfect in theory, but they could not handle the real world like the human systems had. The humans had built programs that could think and adapt. The alien programs could only follow rules. Dr. Nimboleth was having an even worse problem at the research station orbiting Kepler 442b. She was looking at equations that the human scientists had left behind, trying to understand their work on something called dimensional folding. The math was incredible. The humans had found ways to bend space and time that were far beyond anything the aliens had discovered. But the equations might as well have been written in a dead language. "Have you contacted the human research team?" she asked her assistant. "We tried, Doctor. All human research stations have been abandoned. We cannot find Dr. Rodriguez or any of her team anywhere." Nimbaleth felt frustrated. The humans had been working on technology that could revolutionize space travel. They had been close to a breakthrough that would make ships travel 10 times faster than before. Now that research was lost. "What about their computer files?" she asked. "Completely wiped. They took everything with them or destroyed it." The aliens had always thought human science was primitive. They had believed that their own advanced mathematics and computer models were far superior to human intuition and creativity. Now they were discovering that human science was not primitive at all. It was just different and maybe better, General. Kethmore was reviewing military reports in his office on the Vorthak homeworld. What he was reading made him very worried. The early warning systems that protected the galaxy from outside threats were failing. "Sensor Array 7 is down," his aide reported. "Array 12 is giving false readings, and we have completely lost contact with the Outer Rim monitoring stations." Kethmore studied the star map on his wall. Red dots showed where the sensor networks had failed. There were more red dots every day. The humans built most of these systems, he realized. They designed them to work together in ways we do not understand. The aliens had thought the human warning systems were too complicated. They had tried to replace them with simpler alien technology. But simple systems could not handle the complex task of watching an entire galaxy for threats. "Sir," his aide said nervously, "the sensor failures are creating blind spots in our defenses. If the Devourers notice these gaps—" Kethmore did not want to think about the Devourers. The ancient enemy had been quiet for decades, held back by the careful watch of human-built sensor networks. Now those networks were failing. "Send a message to all human ships," he ordered. "Tell them we need to discuss the sensor systems." "Sir, we cannot find any human ships. They have all disappeared." Back on Earth, Captain Rick Thompson was watching the alien communications through hidden sensors. The humans had not really left the galaxy. They had just become invisible. "They are starting to panic," he reported to Admiral Clark. "The mining operations are failing, the trade routes are broken, and their defense systems are falling apart." Admiral Clark nodded. "How long before they realize how much they need us?" "Not long. Maybe another month or two. And the Devourers?" "Still quiet, but our long-range sensors show movement in the dark regions. They are testing the defenses." The humans had always known this day would come. The Devourers were an ancient enemy that attacked every few hundred years. They were creatures of pure hunger that consumed entire star systems. Only constant vigilance had kept them away. The aliens had dismissed human warnings about the Devourers as superstition. They had thought their own advanced technology was strong enough to handle any threat. Now they were about to learn how wrong they were. Dr. Amy Rodriguez was working in her new laboratory, hidden in a pocket dimension that the aliens could not detect. She had solved the dimensional folding problem months ago. Now she was building something even more advanced. "The test ship is ready," she told Rick Thompson. "We can move through folded space without being detected by any known sensor system." "Perfect," Rick said. "Soon we will need to move fast and stay hidden." The aliens were about to face their greatest challenge. Without human help, they would not survive. But the humans were no longer the same people who had left quietly 6 months ago. They had become something more powerful and more dangerous. The galaxy was about to learn that sometimes the quiet ones are the most dangerous of all. 1 year had passed since the humans left, and the galaxy was falling apart. Minister Kulvash stood in his office on the Zelthani homeworld, watching cargo ships drift through space like lost children. The beautiful trade routes that had made his people rich were now broken and useless. "The Vorthak grain shipment has been floating in space for 2 weeks, his aide reported. "The automated systems keep sending it to the wrong star system." Kalvash remembered how he had laughed when the humans left. He had thought their departure would make trade easier and more efficient. Now he realized that the humans had been the ones making everything work smoothly. "What about the backup systems?" he asked. "They are working perfectly, sir. But they can only follow the rules they were programmed with. When something unexpected happens, they stop working." The human systems had been different. They could think and adapt when things went wrong. They could make decisions that were not in their programming. The alien systems were smarter in some ways, but they were also more fragile. Across the galaxy, Admiral Talvarin was facing an even bigger problem. The hegemony Navy's defense networks were full of holes. The sensor systems that watched for enemy ships were failing one by one. "How many sensor arrays are still working?" he asked his tactical officer. "Less than half, sir. We have lost contact with most of the outer rim stations." Talvarin studied the star map on his command screen. The red zones showing sensor failures were growing every day. Soon there would be entire sectors that were completely blind. The humans built these systems, he realized. They designed them to work together. When one fails, the others try to compensate. "But sir, our engineers say the human designs were inefficient. They used too much power and too many backup systems." Maybe those backup systems were more important than we thought. The truth was that human engineering was different from alien engineering. The aliens built things to be perfect under ideal conditions. The humans built things to keep working when everything went wrong. On the industrial world of Gamma Centauri, Chief Administrator Zolthik was watching his planet die. The atmospheric processors that had terraformed the world over decades were breaking down. The air was getting thinner and the temperature was dropping. "How long before the atmosphere becomes unbreathable?" he asked his chief engineer. 6 months, maybe less? "The processors are not just broken. They are failing in ways we do not understand." Zolthik looked out his window at the cities his people had built. Millions of aliens lived on this world, and soon they would all have to leave. The human engineers who had designed the atmospheric processors had not just built machines. They had created a living system that could adapt to changes. "Contact the human colonies," he ordered desperately. "Offer them anything they want. Money, technology, territory, we need their help." "Sir, we have been trying to contact humans for months. There are no human colonies left. They have all disappeared." Dr. Nimbaleth was having the same problem at her research station. The quantum computers that ran the station's experiments were giving strange results. The alien scientists could not understand why their calculations were wrong. "The humans must have made changes to the quantum programs," she told her team. "They must have added modifications that we cannot see." Her assistant looked worried. Dr. Rodriguez did say that quantum computers needed constant adjustment. She said they were like living things that had to be trained. "We thought she was being poetic," Nimbaleth admitted. "We did not realize she was being literal." The human approach to quantum computing was completely different from the alien approach. The aliens tried to control every aspect of their quantum systems. The humans had learned to work with the quantum systems, treating them like partners instead of tools. Back on Earth, Dr. Amy Rodriguez was watching the alien communications from her hidden laboratory. The quantum computers she had built were working perfectly, but she felt sad watching the alien systems fail. "They could have learned from us," she told Rick Thompson. "We tried to teach them, but they thought they knew better." "Are you having second thoughts about the plan?" Rick asked. "No," Amy said firmly. "They had their chance. They chose to dismiss us instead of learning from us." The humans had spent the last year preparing for this moment. They had built new ships using dimensional folding technology. They had created weapons that could bend space and time. They had developed sensor systems that could see through dimensions. Admiral Susan Clark was reviewing the final preparations for the human fleet. The ships were hidden in pocket dimensions, invisible to alien sensors. They were ready for anything that might come. "The Devourer scouts have been detected in the outer rim," she reported to the human leadership. They are testing the defense networks. How long before they realize how weak the defenses are? Asked the Secretary of Defense. Not long, maybe weeks. The Devourers were ancient creatures that had terrorized the galaxy for millions of years. They were not evil in the way humans understood evil. They were simply hungry and they ate everything they could find. Stars, planets, entire civilizations disappeared into their endless appetite. The humans had studied the Devourers for decades. They had built the sensor networks and early warning systems that kept the creatures away. The aliens had thought these systems were unnecessary, a waste of resources. Now the aliens were about to learn why the humans had been so careful. Captain Jake Morrison was piloting one of the new human ships through folded space. The ship could travel instantly between different points in the galaxy, something the aliens thought was impossible. Are we really going to let them suffer before we help? He asked Admiral Clark over the communication system. We tried to help them for decades, she replied. They rejected our help. Now they need to learn why our help was important. The galaxy was about to face its greatest test. The alien civilizations that had ruled for thousands of years were crumbling. Their technology was failing. Their defenses were broken. And their greatest enemy was coming. The humans could save them, but this time the rescue would come with conditions. The age of human subservience was over. When the humans returned, they would return as equals. Or they would not return at all. The aliens were about to learn that respect cannot be demanded. It must be earned. And sometimes the hardest lessons are the ones that come too late. The greatest search in galactic history began on a cold morning when Admiral Kethmore received the most terrifying news of his career. The outer rim sensors had detected movement in the dark regions of space. The Devourers were coming. How many ships can we gather? He asked his staff officers. Every available vessel from the Vorthak Empire, the Hegemony, and the Zelthani Consortium, came the reply. Over 2,000 ships, sir, Kethmore nodded grimly. And how many humans have we found? None, sir. They have completely vanished. The three great alien powers had put aside their differences to search for the missing humans. They had sent fleets to every star system where humans had ever lived. They had scanned empty planets, abandoned space stations, and drifting asteroids. They had found nothing. Captain Rick Thompson watched the alien search fleets from the bridge of his ship. The second dawn, the vessel was hidden in folded space, invisible to every sensor the aliens possessed. Around him, his crew monitored the alien communications with growing amusement. They just passed within 5 kilometers of our position, reported Navigation Officer Karen Walsh. Their sensors showed nothing. Good, Rick replied. Let them keep searching. They still do not understand what they are looking for. The truth was that the humans had not fled to distant galaxies or hidden in secret bases. They had done something far more clever. Dr. Amy Rodriguez had solved the problem of dimensional folding, allowing humans to exist in spaces that the aliens could not even perceive. The human colonies were hidden in pocket dimensions attached to ordinary rocks and asteroids. From the outside, these objects looked like normal space debris. Inside, they contained entire cities with millions of people. Commander Lisa Bennett stood on the observation deck of New Terra, the first hidden human colony. Through the dimensional windows, she could see alien ships searching the asteroid field where their colony was located. The aliens flew right past them, completely unaware that they were looking at the largest human settlement ever built. Should we feel guilty about hiding from them? Asked Dr. Amy Rodriguez, joining Lisa at the window. They chose to dismiss us, Lisa replied. They said we were primitive and emotional. Now they need us, and they expect us to come running to help. But innocent people will die if the Devourers attack. Yes, they will, and that is tragic. But we tried to warn them about the Devourers for decades. They said our fears were superstition. The aliens had always believed that their advanced technology could handle any threat. They had thought the human early warning systems were unnecessary. They had replaced human defensive strategies with their own computer models. Now those computer models were failing, And the Devourers were getting closer every day. Engineer Pete Sullivan was working in the hidden shipyards of New Terra, putting the final touches on the most advanced fleet ever constructed. The ships used technology that the aliens had declared impossible. They could fold space, bend time, and move through dimensions. "The dimensional drives are ready," he reported to Admiral Susan Clark. "The ships can appear anywhere in the galaxy instantly." "What about the weapons?" Susan asked. "Beyond anything the aliens have ever seen. We can attack from multiple dimensions simultaneously. The enemy will not know where the shots are coming from." The human ships were not just technologically superior. They were built using a completely different philosophy. The aliens built weapons to destroy things. The humans built weapons to protect things. The difference was small, but it would matter when the fighting began. Dr. Nimbaleth was growing desperate at her research station. The quantum computers that ran the station were failing more frequently. Without human expertise, the alien scientists could not maintain the complex systems. "Send another message to any human ships," she ordered. "Tell them we will give them full research partnerships. Equal status in all projects. Ma'am, we have been sending messages for months. If there are any humans out there, they are not answering." The irony was bitter. The aliens had spent years rejecting human research as primitive guesswork. Now they were offering equal partnerships to people who seemed to no longer exist. Minister Kulvash was facing economic collapse. The Zelthani trade networks had completely broken down. Ships were lost, cargo was missing, and entire star systems. "We're running out of basic supplies. Contact the human trade colonies," he ordered his assistants. "Offer them exclusive trading rights, full profits on all routes." "Sir, there are no human trade colonies. They are all gone." "Then find them," Kulvash shouted. "Search every planet, every moon, every asteroid. The humans must be somewhere," but the search fleets found nothing. The humans had vanished as completely as if they had never existed. The aliens began to wonder if they had made a terrible mistake. Captain Jake Morrison was piloting a reconnaissance ship through normal space, observing the alien search efforts. His ship could shift between dimensions at will, making it impossible to track or follow. "They're getting desperate," he reported to Admiral Clark. "The Devourers will reach the outer colonies in less than a month." "Are our people ready?" Susan asked. "More than ready. We have been preparing for this moment for over a year." The human fleet was hidden in dimensional space, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. When they did, the galaxy would never be the same. The aliens would learn that the quiet, humble humans they had dismissed were actually the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The Devourers were coming, and the aliens were helpless to stop them. Their advanced technology was failing. Their computer models were useless. Their proud civilizations were crumbling. Soon they would learn that survival sometimes requires help from those you have wronged. And sometimes that help comes with a price that changes everything forever. The Devourers struck without warning on a quiet Tuesday morning. Admiral Talvarin was drinking his morning beverage when the emergency alarms began screaming throughout his flagship. The massive bioships appeared out of dark space like living nightmares, their organic hulls pulsing with hungry life. "All ships, battle stations," Talvarin shouted into his communicator. "Form defensive lines around the colony worlds." But it was too late. The hegemony fleet was spread too thin, trying to cover the gaps in their broken sensor networks. The Devourers had found the weak spots and struck exactly where the defenses were smallest. The first wave of alien ships met the Devourers head-on. Their energy weapons fired bright beams of destruction, but the shots seemed to disappear into the organic armor of the enemy vessels. The Devourer ships did not fire back with weapons. Instead, they released swarms of smaller creatures that ate through metal and energy shields like acid. "Our weapons are not working," screamed a Vorthik captain over the radio. "The creatures are absorbing our attacks." Admiral Talvarin watched in horror as his beautiful fleet was torn apart. Ships that had taken years to build were consumed in minutes. The Devourers moved through space like a disease, eating everything they touched. On the Zelthani homeworld, Minister Kulvash was receiving reports that made no sense. "The entire Fourth Fleet is gone?" he asked his aide. "Yes, sir." "No survivors. The Devourers consumed the ships completely." Kulvash felt his crystal body go cold. The Fourth Fleet had been the pride of the Zelthani military. 500 ships with the best technology in the galaxy. Now they were gone, and the Devourers were moving toward the core worlds. "Send a distress signal," he ordered desperately. "Broadcast on all frequencies. Tell anyone who can hear us that we need help." "To whom should we address the message, sir?" "To anyone, to everyone. To the humans if they still exist." The message went out across the galaxy, a desperate plea for help from species that had once thought themselves superior to everyone else. But space remained silent. No one answered. Then, just as the Devourers reached the middle colonies, something impossible happened. Ships appeared out of nowhere, materializing from empty space like ghosts becoming real. They were sleek and beautiful, with hulls that seemed to bend light around them. Captain Rick Thompson smiled as his ship, the Second Dawn, dropped out of dimensional space. Around him, the human fleet appeared like magic, their advanced cloaking systems finally revealing the most powerful force the galaxy had ever seen. "All ships, this is Admiral Clark," came the voice over the human communication system. "Begin rescue operations immediately. Protect all civilian populations. Show them what real warriors look like." The human ships moved like living things, dancing between the Devourer attacks with impossible grace. They fired weapons that seemed to come from multiple directions at once, striking the enemy from angles that should not have existed. Dr. Amy Rodriguez's dimensional folding technology allowed the human vessels to be in several places simultaneously. A single human ship could attack from above, below, and both sides at the same time. The Devourers, who had never faced such tactics, began to retreat in confusion. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Nimboleth from her research station. "They are violating the basic laws of physics." But the humans were not violating anything. They had simply learned to work with laws of physics that the aliens had never discovered. While the aliens had focused on building bigger and more powerful technology, the humans had learned to be creative and adaptive. Commander Lisa Bennett appeared on the emergency communication channels, her image clear and sharp despite the chaos around her. "This is the Terran Federation offering humanitarian assistance to all galactic species. We are establishing safe zones in the following star systems." The aliens who had once dismissed human capabilities now watched in amazement as human ships performed impossible maneuvers. The humans fought like they had never fought before, their vessels moving through folded space to appear exactly where they were needed, but the rescue came with a price. As the immediate threat passed and the Devourers retreated into dark space, the alien species found themselves facing a new reality. The humans had returned not as junior partners or grateful servants, but as the undisputed masters of galactic technology. "We tried to leave quietly," Commander Lisa explained to the emergency session of the Galactic Council. "We hoped you might learn to value what you had. Instead, you chose to learn through consequences." Ambassador Zeth Kar, his empire in ruins, spoke with a voice full of shame. "We understand now. We were wrong about everything. We thought our technology was superior, but we were just copying ideas that others had already perfected. Human technology is not just more advanced, Doctor," Amy Rodriguez explained to the alien scientists. "It is different. We build things to work with nature, not against it. We create systems that can think and adapt, not just follow rules." The humans began establishing new colonies throughout the galaxy, but this time on their own terms. They shared their technology carefully, teaching other species to understand rather than just copy. The age of human deference to alien wisdom was over forever. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the observation deck of New Terra Station, watching alien ships wait patiently for permission to dock. The species that had once barely acknowledged human existence now lined up hopefully for the chance to trade with their former subordinates. "Do you think they have really learned their lesson?" asked Dr. Rodriguez, joining him at the viewing window. Some of them have, Jake replied. The smart ones. The others will learn eventually, or they will not survive. The galaxy slowly began to rebuild under human guidance. But it was a different galaxy now, one where quiet competence was valued over loud boasting, where adaptability mattered more than rigid perfection. The stars themselves seemed to shine brighter, as if the universe had learned to appreciate what it had nearly lost forever.